What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with some Destiny 2 news and updates. And in the video today we're going to cover a few things. Bungie talk about additional missed patch notes from this week's update, as well as extra weapon adjustments. And they also clarify what's happening with rocket launcher tracking, plus there are some issues with Gambit as well, allowing players to one-shot other Guardians. But additionally we're going to touch on upcoming events, possible secrets this season, plus potential teasers for upcoming content in Year 5. And we'll talk hidden monsters, Bungie's upcoming third-person competitive shooter, and a new interview with Bungie where they talk about LIGHTFALL, their plans for adding a legendary campaign, the future of the Light and Dark saga, characters, and more. So there's plenty to talk about, and as always guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and now let's get into it. And following the update that we had on Thursday, DMG tweeted and said we're seeing questions about rocket launcher tracking changes in the hotfix, and tracking has been toned down on all rockets, including exotics, against other Guardians. And this includes Wolfpack rounds, Deathbringer Seekers, and volleys from Eyes of Tomorrow and Wardcliff Coil, applying to both Gambit and Crucible modes, but tracking against AI combatants remains unchanged. So a bit of clarity on how those rocket launcher changes are working, essentially affecting the PvP side of things in Gambit and Crucible, and without adjustments against AI combatants. However, following Bungie disabling light level advantages in Gambit, some damage buffs now use PvE values as opposed to the PvP ones that they're supposed to use, and Ritzcar on Twitter did point out that at 1x paracles of shot, Hawkmoon currently does 274 damage on headshots, which one-shots all Resilience Guardians and Invaders. And so certain weapons inside of Gambit right now are doing far more damage than intended under certain circumstances. So be aware of that, and of course it's possible we'll see more changes from Bungie. Cosmo also tweeted a missed patch note from the update on Thursday, and he said they fixed an issue where the Imperial Needlebow was getting an unintended 40% damage buff, and could detonate enemies debuffed by Tiku's divination. So on top of the change to the Ikelos SMG, that one has also been adjusted. And up next with Trials Live this weekend, DMG pointed out a couple of things they're tracking. Initially, reports that Trials mementos are not dropping, as well as reports where post-flawless rewards, such as additional adept drops, are not dropping on wins. And they'll keep players posted once they have more info. Then with the Bungie name changes that rolled out yesterday, some players aren't able to use the function, and Bungie Help said they're investigating a problem where some players are receiving a no name changes available error when attempting to update their Bungie name. So they'll keep us posted as they get fixes for that one. Quick main mention right here for next week. An Iron Banner's going to return for the first time in the season. So Bungie say all 6 weapons in this Iron Banner pool have the Skulking Wolf trait, which activates during the hunt with enhanced radar and removal from enemy radar when you land those epic final blows with it. Plus all returning Iron Banner weapons have updated perk pools, including new perks from the current season, and Iron Banner will be kicking off next Tuesday, the 15th of March, and running till the end of the week. Plus there are new weapons, so we have the Frontier's Cry, a 180 RPM hand cannon, and Bungie say it can get stuff including steady hands and compulsive reloader, plus Iron Reach, which lets it exceed the range available to most precision hand cannons. Then there'll also be the Razor's Edge, a vortex frame sword, and it can roll potent perk combinations like Wellspring or Unrelenting combined with Chain Reaction. So that's going to be a pretty fun one, and that is the Lightsaber sword that we spotted in some of the trailers for Witch Queen. On top of this, they say don't forget that Eternity and Vostok have returned, so we should see some old familiar maps. Plus, they have a new map coming up on the horizon, but they're not quite ready to talk about it yet. And so let us know if you'll be diving into the Iron Banner next week. And the final quick update right here, but Bungie did share the redeem code for the Ukraine emblem. That's available to all players, so if you want to show your support to folks in Ukraine by wearing that, it can be redeemed at bungie.net, and I'll have the links for that down below. Next though, today we got a new interview between Bungie and Dexterra.com, and they speak about Witch Queen, but also LIGHTFALL, and their plans for the Light and Dark saga. And initially the article points out that Bungie took the surprising step of adding a replayable campaign to Destiny 2 Witch Queen, with a legendary difficulty available for players that want to experience Witch Queen at a level closer to endgame content. But the good news is that Bungie isn't abandoning that idea, and one of the developers said, "I can say that we are planning a legendary difficulty mode for LIGHTFALL." And it adds, without Joe Blackburn being present, they don't want to add any more info for the moment. But the positive, if you enjoyed that legendary campaign and the replayable missions element that we have right now, is that they are going to repeat that in the next major expansion, which is certainly something to look forward to. And on the subject of the Light and Darkness saga, they say, in Destiny we have a lot of open threat that we're planning year after year. And for the past couple of years, we really wanted to, instead of adding new ones, try and bring everything to a conclusion, and Savathun was one of those big characters. that was impossible not to address. And looking forward, they're going to try and bring everything back to that final shape. Although they don't want to resolve every story thread, as they want to keep some mysteries alive for the Destiny universe. But they're looking at their back catalogue of creative stuff and all of the different characters that they have in the world. And they go on to say, we view this as a big moment of acceleration towards the end. And when we talk about these last few releases, we look at the Light and Darkness saga as Destiny 1 vanilla all the way up to final shape. And that's what they're working on concluding now. And again, they say Witch Queen and Lightfall is kind of an acceleration towards that end. And then, of course, there is the question of what do they do beyond the Light and Darkness saga? As they have already said, that isn't going to be the dead end point for Destiny 2. So give us your thoughts below. But the article also said, speaking of Destiny lore, the Witch Queen's ending leaves plenty of open story threads. But to keep things spoiler-free, we want to know more about Osiris's fate. After all, in the events leading up to the latest expansion, Savathun impersonated the legendary Warlock. And they say Bungie wouldn't go into details, but they did confirm that Osiris will have a role to play in the future. And so that's another interesting element there. Really, the highlights from this article are the legendary campaign that they're planning for Lightfall, as well as that return of Osiris at some point down the road. But I'll link that full interview down below if you want to check it out. However, in terms of teasers and characters for the future, and especially in Year 5 of Destiny 2, following the completion of the Exotic Glaive quest, there's a final transcript that's due to show up in the Enclave. And this is transcript Wound, and this report includes a note to Ikora, and it says to Ikora, here's the AI Com Rasputin protocol transcript we picked up from the wounds. According to this, before initiating Yuga Sundown, Rasputin killed all protective measures in place for human colonies and settlements. And there's a list of code names for the Moon, Mars, Earth, the Exodus ships, and more. But Rasputin also refers to a place called Nefele Stronghold, and there's no record of that in any of our databases. Then it says a follow-up message from Anna Bray brings up more questions than it answers. And it says no hit on Nefele Stronghold in any of Rasputin's records. Can't even find the original transcript you're quoting. If it's real, someone removed all traces of it, and if they did it so cleanly that I'd suspect Rasputin himself. And they point out that that report holds the unsatisfying label of unsolved. And of course, this could refer to an element that we're going to learn more about during the Witch Queen timeline. But given Anna Bray's involvement, and Rasputin seemingly wanting to hide this location, it does seem reasonably likely to be a teaser for one of the kind of story themes that we'll see in seasons throughout Year 5. And Nefele Stronghold refers to Sky Stronghold, and the assumption is that that refers to Savathun's throne world in its current state. So there could be an element that we return to in the future right there, but also, given the teasers of Anna Bray's involvement, and the unfinished storyline surrounding Anna Bray and Rasputin at the moment, again, it seems very likely that these are going to be two major characters at some point during Year 5. But whether we'll get more information about what Rasputin knows during Witch Queen is anybody's guess at the moment. So give us any thoughts you may have about that. And moving on right here, I just wanted to shout out something regarding the Vow of Disciple raid. And there is a hidden final chest that you can unlock after completing the final boss, which gives guaranteed red border weapons from the raid. And the way this is done is actually by tracking a hidden totem and a series of symbols that need to be remembered throughout the course of the raid. When you first enter the pyramid, there is a totem that appears in the main room, and it will show 3 symbols. And then throughout various hidden rooms in the raid, we have to find these symbols and shoot those that match the ones we were shown at the start. And there are basically 9 different zones you have to consider here, where these symbols will have to re-entered before you reach the final boss. And if you can do that, you'll get the special chest with a random red frame weapon. So it's a pretty cool one right there, and Scarrow has a video with how to unlock that. So if you want to check it out, I will link it down below. Another really random mention I wanted to point out right here, but Busted Shovel on Reddit shared an image of a worm popping up out of the swamp at the beginning of the Lightblade strike. And off in the distance, in a couple of areas actually, there are these throne worms that live in the swamp and will occasionally show their face, and Adam Beardhall from Bungie posted some of his artwork to ArtStation showing the design of these worms. Just thought it was an interesting mention, maybe something you'd never spotted, but pretty bizarre and cool nonetheless. The final mentions right here regard Bungie's upcoming IP, and they've recently been posting some new job listings that give a little bit more information about the type of project that they're working on. So Destiny Bulletin initially pointed out one of Bungie's new projects is a third-person action game. And the various posts also refer to it being a PvP-focused title. And of course, they'd previously trademarked the title Matter. We're not sure whether that's actually a project title or some other piece of property associated with it, but a third-person action game with a PvP focus is definitely a bit of a different direction to some of the other stuff Bungie have done. So I'd be curious to get your thoughts about that down below. Previously, they'd said that they hope to get their new IPs up and running by around 2025. Of course, those dates often tend to get pushed back, but on that basis, it does seem possible that in the next 2 or 3 years, we could get some information about what that title could look like. So I'd be curious to get your thoughts in the comment section. But for today, guys, that's what we have to speak about in the video. So as always, if you've enjoyed this one, a rating down below really does help us out on the channel. But also, if you're new around here, be sure to get subscribed so I can keep you posted with more Destiny content. Otherwise, though, for now, thank you as always for tuning in, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.